Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the European crossover webinar. And we are seeing indices just a little bit lower this morning. There's some talk out of China that their tech index is still remains on the weak side or continues to weaken. So that's put a little bit of a drag on equities, but we're still up here near these highs. We also do have a big earnings week ahead of us across the board with all the big names, especially here in tech. So it's going to be quite the big mover. Take a look at the economic data. We just had German current assessment and business climate index. Current assessment came in at 100.4, a little bit lower than expectations of 101.6, and business climate came in at 100.8 versus an expectation of 102.1. And let's see, looking ahead, and we don't have anything until we come into the States, and then that will be with new home sales. That'll be at 10 a.m. Eastern, and Dallas Fed Manufacturing Index will be at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. We'll take a look where we stand overnight. Take a look at the euro. It's just slightly higher, and it's been just languishing near this low, and we continue to hold above that key weekly level of 1748 cable. We did see a bit of a rebound here from last week from those lows, and but we're opening it up just a little bit higher. And with Aussie, we saw that bounce back, and a decent bounce back. Remember, we had that 72.87. I think the low was 72.89. Bounce back all the way to near 74 before we're pulling back just a bit. And dollar yen, which closed above 1050, looks like we're a little bit lower coming in this week. Indices seem to be pulling back a little bit here. Take a look at the S&Ps. And NASDAQ still continue to weaken a bit. So let's just go in and move in to the analysis and get started. For some reason, it looks like it didn't capture the euro in here. One moment. So the euro finished the end of the prior week in the approximation of where it was trading since Tuesday. And you can see here, we pretty much didn't go anywhere for most of the week, or the balance of the week. Key support remains at 1748 with resistance for the upcoming week coming up at 1875. So we're still continuing to go on and languish here, but that key level is not going to come up till here. You could see a little bit of resistance come around, I think it's 1836, but the real resistance is going to be 1875. So let's just go on and mark that down. And moving on with the cable. 。 . 。 . 。 . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . So apparently this is a thinkorswim issue. Doggone, hang on. Apparently didn't save anything or reset itself. So cable, after rallying from its test of 136, the pair is stymied just below 138. Immediate resistance is going to be 37.65, followed by the major at 38.95. Support will be 36.90. Down to the Aussie. Great. The Aussie didn't save it. So let's go and take a look at the Aussie here. It didn't save, so I have to go back over here. So we know the Aussie saw that, as I mentioned, I noticed in here was that we had rallied from that 72.87. This is an area that we had for a while, I think, as we were falling lower. We kept saying that earlier last week, look, that's what's going. We're not going to go in lower just by 10 pips, 20 pips. So we had 72.87. I think the low was 72.89. We saw a nice bounce. And on that nice bounce, it took us all the way up to nearly 74. And we've seen ourselves going and paring back down now. So the resistance I was going to put on here it's back to the that key weekly level, which is 74.27. And support was going to be right there, right off of this week. That would be 73.20. If we broke lower, then we'd be back to where we had that key resistance, which would be 72.87. So the dollar yen continued its rebound on Friday from the 109 test to close just above 1050. Immediate resistance is going to be 1062. Moment. Switch this back over. So as I mentioned, dollar yen continued its rebound on Friday from that challenge of 109 early in the week to close above on Friday at the end of the week at 1050. Immediate resistance is going to be 1062, followed by 1092. Support will be 1009. And onto the cash dollar index. So the dollar index spent the prior week languishing at the breakout level of 92.83. The index may struggle until we get past FOMC day. Resistance remains 93.26, followed by 93.52. Support will be 92.42, followed by 92.14. And as I mentioned, we're just still stuck in this little range just above that breakout area. Obviously, with FOMC day, just want to make sure that we have those additional levels on some of these pairs. With that, we're going to move into Bitcoin. Okay, Bitcoin strung 3 positive days. Let's move this one out of the way. It'll be easier to see. Holy smokes, this thing just exploded. Bitcoin strung 3 positive days after the test of 26,299 on the break below 30,000. You know that we had 26,209 as our support for about 10 days before it ever got there. We just kept thinking, well, okay, that's where it's going to go. Resistance head is going to be 34,258, and this thing has just exploded. Wow. That came out of nowhere. So it would have been the next level up here would have been, which it got above it, would have been 39,270. It did pop up beyond that, look at 39,666, but that's a key level there, 39,270. And support on the downside would be, boy, what a move. Holy smokes. with the most touches there is 37,111. Right there. Just 37,067. Moving on to the S&Ps. S&P futures close a week at another all-time high. Resistance is going to be 44.27 to 127% extension with support at 43.79, but actually 43.77 right now. Let's see if there's anything over here. $44.27. And a break of that, if we see some real good pressure coming, would be, I'll go with the 43.79 and 43.68. And on to NASDAQ. Of course, NASDAQ made another all-time high. It's going to be 15,142. Still remains bullish. And let's see here. Support will be right there. 14,977. Followed by 14,913. Right there, 14,001. I'll just mark this one off to make it easier. And moving on to crude oil. Actually, gold. We'll go gold next. So gold spent the prior week defending the 1800 after twice failed break above 1818. The metal suspect to a downside move to 1746. Post FOMC, should the concern for the effects of loose monetary policy be conveyed, resistance will be 1808. Now it's at 1809, but 1808. Maybe look at the 1812 also, but 1808. And the potential for this thing to move down to 1746, just as a space in between. We'll go right there in the middle. Well, not the middle, but the middle of this area here, which is 1776, but really let's go with 1771. And potentially move down to 1746. Lastly, we'll go on to crude oil. So crude continued its rebound from an earlier week test of $65. Resistance comes in at 72.53, followed by 73.32. Looks like they kind of ran out of gas right before 72.53. But 72.53. And support will be 71.43. 71.43, and boy, we even broke beyond that. So let's take a look at that. Would send us to we're at 70.32 on the initial test. We'll go to 70.32. And take a look where we stand right now. I think this is regular trading hours. We've got this set up for, which it is. We got that buying point of control here at 70.77, and they even dipped even further down here. You got this initial balance flow at 70.17, which really, if you look on the, well, that part would make sense. That extra support was at 70.15. And you've got this point of control right there. See the red line here? Comes in at 70.28. So we'll split the difference and say 70.28. And we'll look at full session. No changes here. Right now, the midpoint 71.49. And point of control. We had 72.53. The high was only 72.44, and it just started going south from there. And then take a look at the NASDAQ. Point of control from Friday was all the way down here at 14,975. And we've got 977 as our first, so that makes sense. Right there. So with that, we've got the bias chart. We're going to get that one posted in the room. And we see you there. And thanks for joining us here for the European crossover webinar.